Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize that the Village of Anmore would like to open our meetings by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver: Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we would like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many territorial keepers of these lands and waters around us since time immemorial. Well, welcome back. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, September the 20th. Approval of the agenda. The recommendation would read?
That the agenda be approved as circulated.
Someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Public input. Public is permitted to provide comments to council on any item shown on the meeting agenda. A 2-minute time limit applies to speakers. Would anybody like to provide any public input? No? Okay. We'll move on. We have no delegations. Okay, the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on July 5th, 2022. The recommendation would read?
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on July 5th, 2022 be adopted as circulated.
Could I get someone to move those minutes? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Nope. Okay. Move on to item number 7, consent agenda. Any council member who wishes to remove an item for further discussion may do so at this time. Councillor Trowbridge.
I'd like to remove item B.
7B?
Yeah.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Weber. Oh, you want to pull the microphone down?
I just have one comment on A.
Yep.
This will be a very quick comment.
Okay. So we have C left. Okay. I'll move 7C, Coquitlam Search and Rescue. The recommendation would read that council receive the Coquitlam Search and Rescue sponsorship report for information. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, we'll now move on to items removed from the consent agenda. 7A, Village of Bilkera, request for comment on the draft Village of Bilkera Official Community Plan, OCP. Let's move the recommendation first before we, is that all right? Would you move the recommendation?
So moved.
Okay, second. Okay, Councillor Wevering.
I just have one comment on page 5 of the actual report. It says the Local Government Act requires municipalities to include the following in their OCPs. It's standard stuff about residential development. But it says sand and gravel deposits suitable for future extraction. Clearly I read the report. Is that a mistake or is that a thing? Anybody know?
I think it's a pretty standard. There was 2 things that jumped out on me with the report that I think need further comment. And I don't know if Mr. Boyd, our engineer, will be able to answer this, but I have always been, for the 20 plus years that I've been within the Village of Anmore, have never thought that the Village of Anmore completely butts up to the Village of Bilkera, that there's a strip that Port Moody separates us, and in here they consider on several occasions state that we are there, that we butt up to their border. So that needs to be clarified to them when we review the report. As well, clustering was kind of an interesting conversation that they had in the report. And clustering, they defined it as one kitchen with several houses around it, where I think clustering in the normal thing of development is smaller houses in a compact area. So I do think that it would be good for us to review the report in a timely manner and then be able to get back to them. So with those comments, I'll ask, the recommendation is to the council just receive it. Oh, Councillor Leitner?
Yeah, on page, whatever it is, 15, they talk about housing needs in Bilkera. And there's a lot of similarities with Anmore, the average house being about $2 million. It means that the people that actually live there now probably can't age in place because many bought their homes years ago when they were much cheaper. And as a realtor, which is my other job, people can't afford more than $1 million, and they're really struggling to come up with $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. And for $2 million homes, it's really surpasses anything that anybody can afford. I think it's really important to note that they're required by the province, as we are, to conduct a housing survey.
Yeah. I believe the exact numbers, their numbers were closer when the actual BC assessment came in, as their averages were closer. I'll check with Ms. Halley. I think it was closer to 2.2, and we were about 2.3, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't recall the exact figure, but
Yeah.
I do believe we were in the same range.
Yeah. Which I said at the time is concerning for younger families. So I completely agree. So it'll be interesting to read the detail of this report and then provide some comments back, because again, we share a similar fire department, which is looking for recruits in that younger age. So, any other comments about it? Okay, so we're just, the recommendation is to just simply to receive the letter and I guess to provide comments at a later date. So, sir, Councillor Trowbridge.
How will we provide those? Are we just going to email in comments, or do we have a process? What do we do?
Thank you, yes. So the resolution that was included on the agenda tonight was for it to be received for information.
Okay.
It would be appropriate if council did want to provide some comments to Belcarra for you to either do so this evening or request that staff report back with some information at the next meeting.
Okay.
I will note that Belcarra had originally requested feedback by the end of August on their OCP, but there were a number of municipalities who don't meet over the month of August, and so had requested extensions. So I'm not sure whether or not they would provide an opportunity for further comment after this evening.
I believe that they did. They have extended it because of the other communities, being in a similar situation to not provide it. And they've also delayed it due to the election as well. So I think there is time to provide comments. So maybe then just to change the recommendation to receive the letter and to provide comments from the letter dated July 20th to the draft Village of Belcarra official community plan.
Sure, and just for clarification, is there any information that you would require of staff to be brought back at the next meeting in order for council to provide those comments? Or would it just be time for you guys to be able to formulate them so that you could present them at an upcoming meeting?
I think just time. We meet again, our next meeting is October 18th, so it's after the election, but it's still this council.
Correct.
So let's, to provide comments by the October 18th.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So with that revision to the recommendation, could I get I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Now move on to 7B, the Anmore Climate Action Program Survey Submission Report. Let's get the recommendation on the table first. The council received the Anmore Climate Action Program Survey Submission Report generated August 5th, 2022 for information. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, so in reading the report, a couple of things jumped out. First of all, we've been on hiatus, or whatever you want to call. So I haven't had a chance, and I don't believe any of the councillors have had a chance to review that. It is a submission that I think goes in at the end of the month-ish. And, there are some sections that have wording that doesn't necessarily reflect what we've discussed in the past, and might be a bit misleading and a bit confusing. So I'd like to, as long as there's no negative repercussions, obviously, I'd like to suggest that we have some time to actually review it and contemplate it and talk about the wording, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Good. Well, it says that the recommendation is to receive the annual survey report, Jen, for information. So I guess I think we should then vote this down, if following your thought, and then simply put forth another motion that council would like to review it before being presented to the council.
If that's the correct procedure, that's what I'd like to do.
Sorry, Ms. Martin.
Thank you for that input. I just wanted to let you know that the Local Government Climate Action Survey, some of it is just multiple choice of 5 options, and that may be where some of the wording doesn't quite align. But I can forward you all of the options, and you could see if you'd like to change some of those.
Good, good. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor right now.
So we should vote it down then?
Vote it down, and we'll put a new motion. So I'll call the question. All those in support of council receiving the Anmore Climate Action Program Survey Submission Report as generated on August 5th, 2022 for information? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's defeated. So a new recommendation could read that council receive the Anmore Climate Action Report submission and provide comments, just rather than for information, but provide comments. Just simply change for information to provide comments. Is that all right, Ms. Halliwell?
Yeah, perhaps just a small tweak, just to say to be afforded the opportunity to provide input
Okay.
into the
Right.
final survey
That's
before
what I'm
it's
after.
Yeah.
before it's submitted.
Okay. With that change, with that recommendation on the floor, I'll get someone to move that. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Weber.
Yeah, I had some of the same concerns, and so sort of the way some of the questions are worded, it's kind of like the same thing with the Metro 2050. It doesn't really apply, like we're trying to do two different things here. So I'd like to be a little bit more thoughtful in our comments, and it's interesting that you say it's multiple choice. That would be very limiting, and it almost, I don't know. I'm wondering if the province just feels good doing this. If they really want to get some use out of this, they should be well thought out answers. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of nonsense. So
Good.
anyway, I agree.
Good. Any other comments, questions? We'll call the question. All those in favor of the updated recommendation? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to 9 legislative reports. 9A, Maury Lane Road Dedication Removal, Bylaw 664-2022. Report dated September 4th by Mr. Boyd, Manager of Development Services. Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Your Worship. So a bit of context and background on this report. As we all know, we're currently underway on constructing the Anmore Community Hub.
Is your mic on?
It is.
Thank you.
And so as part of that development, we have Maury Lane that currently dissects the Village Hall site and Spirit Park site. And as part of the review process, the village are looking to create a more of a natural flow from the main kind of council chambers area into the Spirit Park area. But right now, it doesn't really flow as well because Maury Lane runs through the middle and stops that from happening. So what we're looking to do is to rejig the road right-of-ways to provide a more continuous flow from the community area into Spirit Park and provide that more naturalized kind of feel. So in order to do that, we have to provide a legal access to properties beyond ours. And so we can't just remove the existing road right-of-ways. We have to provide, sorry, I shouldn't say right-of-ways, dedications. So we have to provide a road dedication and allow access to the lands beyond. So what we're proposing to do is to dissolve or close 2 dedications at present. It's kind of the best represented in Schedule C, where we close off Maury Lane going east-west and a section going north-south. There's a reason why there's 2 dedications. The 2 road right-of-ways dedications were provided via 2 separate subdivisions, so that's why we have to kind of look at dissolve 2 different sections of road dedication. And as I kind of stated previously, we also have to provide a new road dedication on the northern boundary to provide access to the lands beyond. Now, Anmore subdivision does allow for a 15.25 road dedication in this location. Typically, we ask for 20. But in review of this is a limited housing stock beyond this point, so currently it actually provides access to 1 property. It could be kind of argued that there's another coach house, which I believe uses Maury right now to provide access, so there is 2 kind of legal, not quite legal entities, but 2 properties that are accessed right there. And there is potential in the future for further subdivision of 1 lot beyond, and potentially into the future, maybe some infill developments. By my calculation, there may be up to 4 to 8 units at most being accessed from this road dedication. Hence why I feel it's okay for a 15.25 compared to a 20-meter road right away.
Okay.
So we've had some communications with the residents beyond at the present. They're aware of what we're looking to do. We've not had any negative feedback, but we will if it goes forward for recommendation tonight, we'll reach out to them again to see if they have any more further comment. And then we have to provide another opportunity for residents to comment on the removal of the dedication into the future prior to final reading. With that, would you like me to make the recommendation?
Please.
Okay, the recommendation reads that council give first, second, and third readings to Anmore closure and removal of highway dedication, Mar Murray, bylaw number 664-2022.
Okay, someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any discussions, any questions? Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, so by virtue of removing where it wraps around the hall right now and bisects where the building would be in the park, that would essentially be, I know it's not officially what we're trying to do, but that would be increasing the park space.
Yes, essentially it would increase the park space eventually once we kind of, that's one I didn't put in my report. We actually have to go through a subdivision. It wasn't a report, I didn't comment on it, that we actually have to go through a subdivision to achieve this, which
Right.
we need to meet the requirements. So yes, but ultimately once subdivision is finished, this would then become part of the parcel, which would by proxy become kind of part of the
Right,
parcel.
because the lines are already marked for the furthest foundation backfill, and that cuts into the existing roadway something like 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah.
Still leaving enough room for our big trucks, our emergency trucks to travel through. So once that's backfilled, the entire length and width of that laneway will now become green space,
Yes.
park. Yeah, so it's a plus.
Yeah.
The northern route, now this is going back a bit, testing my memory here, but the northern route, would that not be where hydro is going to connect power? Like it currently comes in above ground, wraps around. We would be able to use that excavation to put the lines underground, service the building, and get rid of all those wires over the park. Is that correct?
That's correct, but as part of the subdivision process, we need to provide a road dedication for Fortis and other utility providers to provide their services in there. So we have to kind of establish a new road right away and then
Right.
dissolve some of these other right of ways to provide these accesses for Hydro and Fortis. So it's kind of, we don't have to do it, but it's, in my opinion,
But it's
with
the
that
perfect
benefit.
corridor to get rid of all that other junk.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Good. Yeah, my comment was about the services and being able to eliminate those away from the park for kids that are, flying a kite or whatever. I think it's a very, very key thing, and just the visual was terrible. Any other questions, comments? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. We'll now move on to 9B, Anmore Community Hub Loan Authorization Bylaw number 663-2022. Report dated September 15th by Lena Martin, Manager of Financial Services. Ms. Martin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to introduce a bylaw to authorize the borrowing towards the estimated cost of the construction for the Anmore Community Hub. Just a little bit of background. Section 179 of the Community Charter states that a council made by loan authorization bylaw take a loan authorized for anything of a capital nature, as long as we state the total amount due, the general terms, the amount allocated by the bylaw, and the maximum use. We also have a section in the Community Charter that states the approval of the electors is not required under Section 175 if the annual cost of servicing the aggregate liabilities is not more than 5% in a year, so annually. We do that annual calculation based on our 2021 financial statements with varied revenue sources such as unconditional grants, payments in lieu of taxes, revenue received under agreements, and investment income. At the October 2020 regular council meeting, the following resolution was passed that Anmore begin the process to seek approval for participating in the long-term borrowing in 2021 for $2.5 million. The spring borrowing in 2021 was not sought because there was no requirement at the time with the building being postponed. So we've done an annual calculation for our revenue to see what our 5% would be based on our 2021 financial statements. And that annual value is $290,865. So at this time, Anmore has no liabilities, no debt, no agreements. So we could go up to $290,865 before we needed to go out to the public for a long-term borrowing. With the long-term borrowings, I've noted a couple of possibilities. So 25-year loan at the current MFA market rate would be $181,070 for an annual limit. And if we did 20 years, that would be $196,789. Those are just two examples. Council will have the opportunity at budget to discuss terms of the long term, or as we go through when we set these terms. I think in our bylaw we set it at 25, but you could choose to go less. It just allows us to go up to 25.
And are these current rates, these MFA rates, 4.15?
So 4.15 is the current loan rate,
Yeah.
and what they do is a fixed loan for 10 years.
Okay.
And MFA, a little bit background for the MFA, it provides a collective long-term debt issuance for municipalities. They do issues twice a year in the spring and the fall, and it's set at current market rate. So they set a 10-year fixed rate, and as we make interest and principal payments, it falls as a sinking fund. So they take those principal payments and invest them, and that actuarial value, which is interest earned on the principal, comes back to the municipality. So we get a share of the loan that is written down over time. So, so the MFA sets that fixed term, and then every 5 years after that, they reset your terms. So it kind of depends on where interest rates are going. Right now, the estimate, which is their indicative rate, was I think 4.48. Now, as we know, interest rates are going up and down quite a bit right now. We just had a meeting this morning to say that interest rates still might go up a little bit, but we're looking at a trend of going down towards the end of 2023. So if that indicative rate is 4.48 right now, that's based on our current market, which is quite high. So we might see in our term refinancing after 10 years for that to be an even lower rate than what we're estimating.
Okay. Is there a lower term?
So they do terms as low as 10 years. Now,
Okay.
one of the things that in our MFA meeting this morning, MFA does it as a bond. So they take the debt and they sell the bond. That bond, when it goes to market, they wanted to see if there was anybody that was interested in 10-year bonds. And the last time they tried to do a 10-year bond, they couldn't sell them. So they've gone back to the longer term, 20, 25, 30 years. Though, again, with interest rates fluctuating, the MFA might come back and say they want to do a 10-year at a time term.
Good, good. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to follow up. This was at the request of many residents who came and said about future residents actually paying for this building, and they wanted to. We don't need to take a loan out on the building, and that we've saved up enough money to pay cash for it, and then then we received the $2.4 million grant from the senior levels of government. But this was at the request that we put this forward, and it came to our finance committee meeting in regards for future residents to offset some of it with their taxes. So I just wanted everybody to realize that. So did you have was there a recommendation, Ms. Martin?
There are two recommendations. Yes, the first recommendation is that council give first, second, and third reading to the Anmore Community Hub Loan Authorization Bylaw number 663/2022.
Perfect. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any questions? Councillor Trowbridge.
Are we discussing the two payment or amortization periods? Are we going to,
That will come up at our finance committee meeting.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's not something we're talking about here.
The bylaw allows for up to 25 years. Now, we can also get authorized for a loan of up to 2.5, which was the requested amount in 2021. We, however, don't have to borrow the full amount if we choose not to. So this just sets a parameter for us to start from.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But that's going to be at the Finance Committee meeting, because I have a preference between
Yeah,
the two.
I do too.
Periods,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
as long as we're going to discuss it
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, it's how quickly things are moving currently. This could change by the time our Finance Committee meeting comes
Yeah.
forward, so.
Yeah, so
And that,
by voting on this, we're not fixing the term.
we're just simply setting it up that we have up to $2.5 million.
Got it, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Weberink.
Yeah, for the borrowing, actually on page 84 of the agenda package, it says, and that council supports the Anmore Community Hub project. Okay, I guess you're just quoting the October 20th council meeting, because our budget is now $8.5 million.
Yes,
Isn't
that
it
was, that was the recommendation in the past at the time, what we had looked as this portion would be for long-term debt is 2.5. So we just wanted to bring that forward to show that we had already approved the recommendation of the borrowing.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's just some history.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then that answers my next question. And you already answered the question on percent-free borrowing. Are there any restrictions on paying it off sooner than 10 years if it's a 10-year term?
I believe after the 10-year term, you can choose to completely pay it off, or you can continue on. It's after each end of term. So
okay.
at the end of 10 years, and then after each 5-year term.
Sorry, say that again?
So after the first 10 years, you have the option to renew, and they do 5-year terms after your first 10.
Okay, I understand. Okay. And what are we making on our money that we're saving?
So we have 2 terms. We just signed actually a fixed term GIC at 4%, which is going to take us for another year. And that, I believe, was about $3.5 million. So we're pretty set with that. We have another term coming up in the spring, and we'll look and see what our rates are doing. The expectation is that rates will go up a little bit more still, and then start to fall off towards the end of 2023. Full gas.
If we're lucky, this could be free money. I like the term.
Well, the way that we looked at it
Sorry.
today, I was talking to Shelley Hahn even with MFA this morning, and another way of looking at it is instead of taking the money from your reserves and the full amount, and you'd be losing 4%, take a loan, invest that money, get your 4%, you're paying a 4.5 around rate for your loan, but it's spread out. So you could earn your interest there and earn your actuarial, so you could actually earn twice.
Wow.
Good.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Yeah, and then the rest, I'd comments on the amortization as well.
Yeah,
I guess we'll
yeah,
discuss that at a future meeting. Okay,
Good.
that's it. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments for Gaia? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Martin, for explaining that. We're now on to new business, award of website development and support contract, report dated September 12th from Ms. Halliwell, our CAO. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is coming forward to seek approval from council in the award of a contract for the redevelopment of the village's website, as well as ongoing support. If you will recall, there was a project that was included in this year's financial plan for $80,000 in order to undertake that redevelopment work. And in order to help pull together an RFP that had the technical requirements that we needed, we hired a company to help us who had knowledge and expertise in website design. So we hired Sperling Hansen Associates earlier this year, and they've been helping us put the RFP together as well as to evaluate the proposals. So we did receive 8 RFPs in total, which was great, and we've been going through an evaluation process. We recently interviewed the top 2 ranking firms to get a little bit more information from them, and we feel confident in the number 1 ranked, which is Graphically Speaking. We do want to have 1 follow-up with them just to have a bit of a demonstration of the site. It's really important for us here. Although we will have a support contract, we don't have website experts on staff. As you can imagine, we've got other staff that have other responsibilities who might not be have the technical expertise to be able to update the website and change content and things like that. So we just want to have a look at the the back end to make sure that we're really confident that anyone could update it on our staff. So that's why I'm seeking at this point for approval up to the budget to award to them without an actual contract price, because there's a couple of things that we would want to negotiate in terms of what would be included in their scope of work. But again, I do feel confident in Graphically Speaking as the website designer for us. And so we'll go through that process and just make sure that we've got that assurance, and then we can negotiate the term and scope of the project overall. So the recommendation that is for you tonight is that council approve the award of the contract for the redevelopment of the village's website for a maximum contract price of $80,000, excluding GST, to Graphically Speaking.
Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any questions, comments? Councillor Webrink.
What's the majority of the 80 grand? I mean, that's an expensive website, and I know there's some technical aspects of the website. Is that the expensive part?
Part of it is the design of it itself, and part of it is also the content migration. So it's not as easy as sort of taking our current platform and just sort of updating it and making it function better. You've actually got to take all of the content that exists on our current website and sort of physically move that over into our new website. So there's quite a bit of work involved in that, and that will be another, I would say probably about 25% of the budget will be used for Graphically Speaking, to use their technicians to be able to move that content over. It's a possibility that as an organization, you could move that content yourself and just work with their templates. But again, because of our capacity and resource and expertise in-house, we feel that it's actually more beneficial to have them do it on our behalf.
Okay. Is this, I mean, obviously it's going to be a better website, it's going to function better. Is this going to save staff time? You know, fewer problems, people having a phone because the website didn't work. Is that kind of the idea?
Absolutely. And we had staff right from the get-go on this this whole process in selecting a vendor. We had staff participate in meetings with Sperling Hansen to say where the difficulties are, where they are finding that it's not as efficient. So as an example right now, a lot of our forms online are fillable PDF, which is nice, but then somebody has to print the PDF and they could save it as a PDF, and they have to email it. Whereas the new functionality will take the information that's submitted right through the web page and automatically email it where it needs to go.
Okay.
So there's a lot less interaction that's needed, not only by residents when they're wanting to provide us with information, but also on the staff end.
Okay. Okay.
Councillor Cryer.
Thanks for your work on this. Thank you for allowing me to speak. One question, so we'll have the fillable form. That was one question that I had, so that's good to bring us up into this time of the world. Also, we'll be better able to pay, the e-commerce will be better than it has been?
Yes. So, and that's not actually dependent specifically on our website. We're working and we're close to actually being able to launch, even on our current website, a third-party website called OptiPay. And so we're just working through which bills or invoices or permits that residents will be able to pay online. There is a service fee associated with it, but it's all completely captured by OptiPay. And it's, up to the resident to decide if they want to pay that surcharge for the convenience. It's a convenience fee, essentially. And so we're looking at being able to offer that hopefully very, very soon. And it will certainly be part of the new website as well.
That's terrific. And I guess in my limited experience with other clients that have done new websites and upgrades, $80,000 is not an exorbitant amount. I mean, there are often times when it's well over $100,000. So
Yeah.
I feel the $80,000 is reasonable, and it sounds like you've done due diligence and you have more than just the building of it, but also the integration, which is very important.
The integration, and the other piece that we really considered was the ongoing support requirements, because there are a lot of websites that are more customizable than the sort of the platform that we're looking at. However, obviously, if it's that customized, you need the support when you're making changes. So we've elected to go with a more standard platform, the WordPress platform, and just make sure that we've got the appropriate plugins and security checks and things like that in our support contract.
Yeah, I can't see that we would need anything too crazy excessive, so I'm glad we have a good standard template because we're not recreating the wheel for our little village.
Any other questions, comments? My comment is, a lot of smaller communities and even bigger communities are getting hacked through their websites. And I think, the conversation that I'm hearing from a lot of people is the importance of this and making sure certain security firewalls, way beyond my pay grade in regards to understanding all of this. But, it seems like as one security aspect gets developed, another one to break it down is being developed as well. So we need that ongoing support. So I will then, you've put the recommendation forward, so could I call the question? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Halliwell. Okay, we don't have any items from committee. Mayor's report. Last week I was up at the UBCM for a couple days. I attended the MFA AGM, and then I also had a chat with Minister Heyman about the pollution abatement order being lifted for the village of Anmore, which he said that he was going to be getting onto, which is great. I attended and was proud to announce Sandy Weverink at our Anmore Day for her Community Spirit Award. We have the official thing right here, and it was a really touching moment. She was very surprised.
She was.
And couldn't have been more deserving. And I just wanted to thank a couple people. I know Councillor Cryer will talk a little bit more about the Anmore Day, but I just wanted to say it's incredible success. Thank the volunteer fire department who sold out of food. Thank the Anmore Garden Club, Anmore Times that were there, as well as Sabina and her crew, and Councillor Cryer and Carrie Palmer Isaac for all their work of selling out all of the liquor that was at the liquor tent. So I will leave the rest for Councillor Cryer. This last Saturday I attended the Coquitlam Search and Rescue 50-year anniversary. What an amazing group of people that take care of us, and it was a really, really amazing event to be able to share that with them. All the Tri-City mayors were there, except for Mayor West from Port Coquitlam, but some great stories, and just an incredible amount of dedicated volunteers that really keep us safe in the back roads. So this Thursday we have a Sasamat Trust Fire Trustee meeting at 7 o'clock. And then I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Boyd about the recent paving and the work to be done on the paving that's upcoming within the village.
Thank you, Bishop. So as you see, we've completed a number of items within the capital works so far. Hemlock Drive has kind of been paved. There's a little bit more work to be completed on Hemlock, but the majority is completed. You see that the Sunnyside has been paved as well. Unfortunately, some of the driveways have not been completed yet. Excuse the next pun, but hunting season got in the way, and the contractor left, and which shot us in the foot with completing things. So they'll be back this following week. Yeah, believe it or not, hunting season is a 2-week window that a lot of them disappear for, and that was this past 2 weeks. I'm not too sure what they were hunting up there. I'm not a hunter, so I can tell you what was in season, unfortunately. But that's the honest truth there. So they'll be back next week to finish off those final items there. With a few other little items for Birchwind, some more speed humps to go into Birchwind, some permanent speed humps, and some other minor paving around the municipality. So we're pretty close. It should be all wrapped up, hopefully. Fingers crossed by the end of next week. Okay. And then following on, there will be some more work going forward with some water metering upgrades through the next few months.
Councillor Trowbridge.
Are those speed bumps in Birchwind, they were pretty temporary. Are these more permanent or replaced with the same thing and then we'll...
No, these will be the permanent version. These will be asphalt kind of speed humps.
Yeah. Okay, so they're going to be poured right in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And the residents there are ecstatic. Yeah, yeah, it is.
Oh, sorry, something
Yeah.
not associated with the capital works, but something that was asked for previously was the safety audit along Sunnyside Road. So you will see some people in the next week or so appear observing, taking traffic counts and taking speed data and whatnot. So there'll be a report coming forward in the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. You should have a completed report to report back to council.
Good, good. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. I'll now open up to Councillor's report. Ladies first. Councillor Crab.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's been busy. I don't feel like I really had that July-August break. Last week I was at UBCM, and it was my first full UBCM. The first year was cut short because of, we were in Vancouver and some prior things that I had going on. But I enjoyed meeting all of the different municipality representatives, some that are small like us, some that are larger, sharing a lot of information and good news, bad news, that sort of thing. I felt like the program was really well done. I was thrilled to be able to hear John Horgan speak, Nathan Cullen. The keynote was excellent. I can't remember her name, but she's with the Toronto Star. It was very, very good. So I was thrilled to be there. Also, further information about Mom Murray Day. It was a definite success. I think the time change was good later in the day for just a few hours, the live music. At the CC committee, we had been talking about doing music in the park for a long time. So this was the perfect opportunity. It was very, very well received. And we had nothing left I was the bartender. We had nothing left. I don't think anyone was missing out, so it was the perfect amount. Cheers to Sabina for doing such a good job organizing, but just a really lovely opportunity for everyone to get together after such a long time apart. So I would like to see that done bigger and better next year, if not sooner. A couple of things coming up. I have a Healthier Community Partnership meeting tomorrow. We're kind of resurrecting that after the summer, and that's a collaboration of all levels of government, Fraser Health, BC Housing, all the municipalities, on coming up with 3 key things that we can support in the community. In the past, we've done things around childcare, keeping people active, vaping, so we just picked some different issues. And we work on that throughout the year. Also, we have Council of Councils on Saturday.
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
have that in my calendar, so,
It's news to me.
okay.
I think they may, they typically have one in the spring and in the fall. I think they may have canceled the fall one given the election.
I
They don't
would
usually
hope
hold a
so.
fall one in the same year that there's an election.
I don't have one scheduled.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. I'm happy about that. Also, next Saturday, I will be representing the Village of Anmore at the Tri-Cities Ministerial Breakfast at the Boathouse. It's been going on for quite some time. I was invited last year, but was unable to attend. We all have actually been invited, so I'm excited to attend that for the very first time. Last year, I wasn't able to come because of the pandemic, so Councillor Ross, or Mayor Ross from Belcarra, did my portion of the program. So I participate in the program, I read a scripture, and it's just a good opportunity for all levels of government to support the faith-based community. And that is all I have.
Councillor Webber.
Yeah, not too much to report. Yeah, Mom Murray Day was a great success. It was really wonderful that my wife got this award. Thanks to Carrie for nominating her. But she was very involved for years and years through the school, scouts, the village. So she's got some health problems right now, so it was really timely for her. It was she really appreciated it and was very surprised. I enjoyed Mom Murray Day. The band was fantastic. I had a good talk with our firefighters, some of the ones that attended to my first aid incident, and I got to thank them personally. It was very emotional for them and me, but it sure made me realize once again, what these guys bring to the table, men and women, top notch. And, you know, I think I've talked about this before quite openly, but when my heart stopped, they had me back in a minute. And even when I was in the hospital and that was reported, everybody in the hospital was saying, wow, that's impressive. And I said, well, that's our fire department. That's how good they are. So it was a sort of a touching moment for me, but certainly appreciate those guys more and more every day. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to UBCM this year due to conflicting schedule, but I wish I had been there. I know exactly what you're talking about. You meet so many people. It's just nice to get into those conversations with council in a similar community. How did you deal with this? How did you deal with that? It's great networking. So I'm glad you went, Councillor Cryer. And then I just have a couple of questions for staff, if that's okay. The pathway project on Eagle Crest, or near Eagle Crest, there was a little wooden bridge that was supposed to be culverted, but nothing's been done. Is that still on the books, or when is that happening? Maybe to Mr. Boyd.
I'll take that question.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be completed 3 years ago. The capital works got cancelled and it went into the next package. We went to complete the work, but then we realized that BC Hydro have a transmission line that was exposed in the watercourse that was all frayed. And it's an old line that fed from Bunsen Lake to Burrard Thermal water line. It was in a bad state, so we had to cancel our work to let Hydro get in and complete their work. They took a whole year to come back and complete it. They finally completed it, and by the time they completed it, we didn't have time to go through and do the permitting requirements for environmental permitting to get it back into place. So we're having to wait another cycle to get it back to be able to do it in the fish window, which is, don't quote me, it's kind of late, middle August to around about now is where the end of the window goes. So we have to do it during that time frame. So fingers crossed, next year we will finally get the piece of culvert in and extend that piece and get rid of the old wooden bridge.
So it could be a year.
It will be another year,
Okay,
yeah.
well, all right. Yeah, and then, Ms. Halliwell, I think I've asked you this before, the flail mowing along Sunnyside, some of the ditches, there's literally trees growing out of them. Do you know when, I know you said it was coming up the last time I asked. Is it scheduled for certain?
Yeah, I think the majority of the work has now been done. I know that with speaking to Mr. Donaldson about their approach for the flail mowing, it might be slightly different than it has been in past in terms of not completely leaving the ditch barren, because that can cause slope stability issues. But certainly if there's large trees, I would think that they might need to come out. But
Yeah.
my understanding is that the flail mowing work has been caught up. But I can certainly follow up with him and let you know.
Okay, well,
And if there's a certain
just
area.
walking along Sunnyside here, I guess sort of just outside of my neighborhood and coming up, it's quite thick.
Okay, I'll follow up specifically on that area.
And I noticed they're not just doing flail mowing, they're actually digging the ditches, and like on East Road, they've been actually, I guess, have like a bucket truck, or like a digger.
Scraping.
Scraping, yeah.
Yeah, that's Kevin Spence has been doing that.
Oh,
And,
okay.
They do
Yeah, that's
that.
part of the ditching program,
Yeah,
where they
that's-
clean them out,
yeah.
so they actually have conveyance.
I would just be worried about a heavy flow event here, like there's a lot, just, stop water. Okay, that's all I have.
What about the bus stop?
What about the bus stop?
That your-
Oh,
The bus stop is on its way.
when?
Well, hopefully, is it? Well, not on a truck quite yet,
Yeah.
but it will be soon. Yes.
Okay, did you, nothing? Yeah. Councillor Laidler?
This is my last council meeting.
No.
I'm afraid I'll be away for the next one.
Oh, okay.
So this will be my last one, that I address everybody as a councillor. First off, I attended the dedication ceremony of the cenotaph in Port Moody. It's quite an inspiring ceremony, although it was small, and most of Port Moody Council was in attendance, as was Rick Lumack, the MLA for the area. I'd like to say I've enjoyed my time as a councillor because of the people I've worked with. As a council, we did a lot of great work for the village, and I'd like to thank our amazing staff, who was led by our CEO, Julie Halliwell. I'd like to mention a couple of things that were important to me. One was approving the hub as council and attending to the break in the ground ceremony. I think it's going to be a great addition to the village. Also, I'm glad that we are financially stable with, I believe, over $1 million in the bank.
Much more than that.
It's more than that now. It's growing. Of the future, I am concerned. The average property is valued over $2 million. Young people cannot afford to buy in the village, and also older people cannot age in place here. We need a diversity of homes that are affordable in Anmore to facilitate all people who want to live here. When I moved here in 1995, the population was about 1,000. Now it is around 2,000. Change is inevitable. I want Anmore to be part of the decision-making, not the provincial government. There's been controversy over Anmore South. Personally, nothing can be done by this council or future ones, as Anmore South is privately owned and already designated 1-acre parcels. My hope is that the owners decide to bring to council a plan to develop the land in such a way that council can make a decision that is in the best interest of the residents of Anmore. I think it is important to note that I have an open mind, as I'm sure all members of the council do, and if the owners want to change the use of the land in Anmore South, I'm hoping they will act in the best interest of the majority, as I know the new council will. That's all I've got to say, I think. Thank you.
It's the second page.
Thank you, Councillor Laidler. We'll move on to some Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. So just a couple of updates. We typically, during UBCM week, have a meeting with BC Hydro. At their request, we are going to hold a meeting outside of UBCM with Council next week. And we will have, obviously, some discussion around the pilot project of the reservation system this year at Bunsen Lake. I believe that BC Hydro provided some information around their thoughts on it, so we'll have an opportunity to discuss that next week. Also, I think everybody is aware, and further to Mayor McEwen's comments about contacting or asking Minister Heyman about where our ministerial order stands. Anmore Green Estates is now connected officially to the regional sewer system, and my understanding is that both of their orders have been lifted, both Anmore Green Estates as well as the school district. So hopefully ours will be, they have been lifted, yes. So we are hopeful that that ours will be very soon as well. We will be getting into budget talk again. It feels like we just finished with that, but we'll be ramping up internally as staff to start preparing the 2023 budget for the new council to consider. And finally, I just wanted to formally announce that we have changed direction in terms of project management for the Anmore Community Hub. We realized that there was some untapped capacity and experience sitting right here with us, and which is going to essentially result in some savings on fees for the project management costs, and that's by having Mr. Chris Boyd take over as the project manager for the hub. So not to put you on the spot, as you've been catching up with where
Okay,
things
I'm like
are
Walmart.
at.
I'm just, give the same product but for cheaper. I get it.
If you wouldn't mind maybe just providing a very brief update on where the construction is at.
Yep. Councillor Trowbridge.
Before you do, I think it's worthwhile to officially thank Dennis Brown,
Thank you.
who carried out that duty from the beginning till now and handing it off to Chris. Dennis did his level best, and I think we all benefited by his deep experience and his knowledge in the industry. But I think this is a good decision for the village. So
Great, thank you for that.
Yep. I would just say credit to Dennis. He helped bring the project back to a reasonable budget and spent a lot of time and effort getting it there. So I would definitely agree with that. So the project currently, we're just heading towards finishing off the underground utilities underneath the basement slab. So that's some of the mechanical plumbing is being completed. We're looking to pour the first basement slab at the end of this month, so in another week or so, we should have the kind of bottom section all buttoned up, and then we'll be looking to start working on the top floor section, so the main floor section will then follow on. Some utilities still to go in here in the next few weeks or so, so that's going well. The project team is still looking at savings. We found a number of savings that we can tweak a little bit of the design and save a significant portion of Anmore's budget, so that's another bonus going forward. So we're continually looking to do that on a weekly basis. But right now, everything's going more or less according to plan, and we're moving forward.
Good. Councillor Trowbridge.
I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I had a lengthy conversation with Todd Jacob, and I thought just to do a sound check, I know the IPD process takes care of all this, but sometimes there's gaps and conversation is worth having. And I just asked him to give me an affirmation of how confident he is that we're not into the risk register. He's very confident that we can complete and not go into the risk register, or if we go in, not eat it all up. So I meant to call you and I forgot, so I'm telling you now.
It's good the back channels worked. I hear the same. So yeah, we're looking good on the budget side for sure. And like I say, like our job through the IT process is to try and find continual savings, but not just savings because we want them obviously, but also to keep the same product quality as well. That's one of the main things as well. So that's what we're looking at continually.
Good. Thank you. Okay, we have some information items. We have the minutes of the Saskatchewan Volunteer Fire Department or Trustees meeting on March 3rd, June 2nd, some general correspondence. Of note, the communication from the Ombudsman in British Columbia, quarterly report, again, a clean bill of health. This has been ongoing for our entire term on council, and with just one sort of frivolous complaint anyway. It was quickly resolved, and I will now open up to public question period. Public is permitted to ask questions of council regarding any item pertaining to village business. Time limit applies. Anybody want to say anything? Please. No.
Why is it bad to be a black-tailed deer buck with 4 points or better from September 10th to September 30th?
Shooting season.
Okay. That.
I suspect they're hunting beer cans more than.
Hi, Fiona Cherry, 120 Hemlock. I just have some questions in regards to the road, in regards to Mulmurray Road. One of the things is the Spirit Park is adjacent to it. So I'm wondering, why isn't council or why isn't the Village of Anmore paying for the paving along the Spirit Park portion of it? That's my first question.
I don't know if we said we have or we haven't yet. We haven't completed all the designs or put a budget or anything together at this point in time.
Okay, so that's something that's going to be discussed later, is how far that actual road is going to go. Okay.
I would assume so.
Okay. Okay, another quick question is that if it goes to a certain point, is the rest of it just going to be gravel as it is now?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good answer. Fair enough. Probably you could comment on this. When you're doing the road, are you going to fill the ditches?
Maybe. I can answer. I can kind of. It's not as straightforward as that. Depending on how far we go with the subdivision and the road requirements, it may just be the section of road that leads up to the start of the ditches. If that makes sense, on the northern side, you have a little head wall there,
Yeah.
where kind of Spirit Park, I suppose, is that portion of the land, so we might stop there, which would mean, no, we wouldn't fill in the ditches, they would just remain, and so would the roadway. On the section to the east of that section, there is no ditches right now, it's actually in a pipe, so it would stay within a pipe in that location.
Okay, all right. I've answered that. When do you anticipate the road to be complete, approximately?
Don't know, because I haven't spoken to council about it.
Okay.
It's a tough one. I mean, we'd obviously be looking to complete it prior to the completion of the hub. That would be ideal.
Okay.
To get that continual flow from the council kind of chambers areas down into Spirit Park. It's not essential to have it completed by then. It's all to do again with financing and the rest of it. So council have to go through those processes first.
All right, and just one last question regarding this, is at the end of Hemlock, after the road's been paved, there seemed to be some extreme flooding right on the corner. So I don't know if that's been addressed or that will be addressed.
We've pointed that out to Mr. Boyd in regards, luckily there is 2 drainage catchment basins there that we can hook into, and that's the work that they're going to continue to do. I noticed that as well, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening. Joan Walker, 110 Hemlock. First of all, I want to thank all of you for giving us a new road on Hemlock Drive. Thank the Lord. That thing was just falling apart. So we're truly, truly appreciative of our new road. My only comment now is since the road has been put in, we had 1.5 days of rain. I don't know if any of you were on Hemlock or at the corner of Sunnyside and Hemlock. We had an absolute flood of water there. My suggestion is whoever the people are, Siwi or however you say their name, do they come back and have a look, because the road is taking on water where the new asphalt was laid at the base of Hemlock. Actually, it was laid on Sunnyside, not on Hemlock. There. And I'm telling you, we were going through water, and that was just a day and a bit of rain.
Yeah, so we're taking care of that. What we'll be doing, as the mayor just alluded to, we'll be cutting in a new drainage catch basin in there to allow the water to get out.
Good.
And
Okay.
there are some other minor works as well to happen along Hemlock with some curbing to direct. A lot of the water right now is not going where it should be until we put some additional curbs. And so when we put the additional curbs in, it'll actually flow it into more of the catch basins, because I think right now the kind of water isn't going where it used to because we have removed some of those curbs.
Because it is just laying there, it's just not going.
Yeah, so that corner historically used to have some ponding issues, but nowhere near as much as what it is currently now, so that needs to be resolved.
Thank you, thank you.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
And this is not my question, but our gym actually has an acoustic problem, which there's probably not a great deal that can be done about it. But in terms of being able to hear people who are speaking is difficult. But anyway, it's just the nature probably of the room that we're in. Anyway, I have a couple of questions. My first is a 2-part question. So related to council's strategic plan, what opportunities were provided in the past to residents for input regarding the content of this document? So in the previous minutes, it was noted that there were opportunities for community input, but I actually did not remember any of those. So what were the opportunities?
Do you remember, Ms. Howe, there was a bunch of public information sessions for our strategic plan?
I think it was just at council meetings.
Yeah, there was.
There was a draft that would have come forward and an opportunity for public input when it was presented.
Just a draft at a council meeting?
Correct.
Okay. So there was never any actual public meeting on that strategic plan? I don't think there ever was.
I would have to
Those
go
would have
back
been-
to confirm.
But those would have
but-
been public meetings, yeah.
At a council meeting? Okay. And is it appropriate that the strategic plan be presented as Anmore's strategic plan rather than as council's strategic plan?
I think it specifically says Anmore Council strategic plan.
It should always say Anmore's council strategic plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe that's what it does.
It does say, the document does say that. But at times, it's presented as if it's Anmore's strategic plan.
Okay.
Which I think is probably not totally correct. That is Anmore Council strategic plan. And lastly, could the fire department trustee minutes adopt gender-neutral words? And, we are living in 2022. And for example, one thing that really struck me was the use of the word manpower. And we actually have some number of women on our fire department who are actually, important members of the team and are not men. So, I would like to see a council policy and actually encouragement for our partner groups like the fire department to use gender-neutral words, not language that most often is no longer considered acceptable in today's society.
I'll just ask, have you sent an email to Chief Sharp about your concerns?
About using the word manpower.
You have?
Oh, you want me to send them?
I would suggest you, because these minutes are just simply forwarded minutes from the trustees. So. Prepared by Metro Vancouver, yeah, but there are the minutes of the fire trustees. The appropriate would be to reach out to Chief Sharp and ask him those questions.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Excellent,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Good. Nothing further, I'll move, what am I going to move? I'm going to move adjournment. Move, seconded, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Good night, everyone, thank you. And Tim, thank you for those kind, Councillor Laidler, thank you for those kind words.